Previously on the BBI build, whilst trying to restore and figure out the problems with this neglected 12-cylinder Ferrari engine, we face a number of challenges. With lost parts and irreplaceable components, there are so many unknowns, but the biggest uncertainty of all is, will it ever run again? It's the ultimate mission to resurrect and restore this tired Ferrari back to its former glory when it left the Maranello factory for the first time in 1983.
Now the bulk of the jobs today are all going to be focused on the big part of the BBI that is missing right here. So we're going to start off by bolting everything onto the engine. Now that is no mean feat because we have got boxes and boxes of nuts, bolts, washers, all of the hardware. Now this week I've spent the whole week going through bolting together all of these, let's call them sub-assemblies. So we've got all the right hardware, all the correct bolts ready to go onto the block itself. But there's something I didn't quite explain in the last video, the reason why we are doing this. As most of you are aware, since starting this BBI project, a lot of parts have been off to various places who have helped out along the way. We've had plating, we've had powder coating, we've had just bits in boxes, we've had bits sat in warehouses, bits in my garage, and I'm a little bit worried that we have lost some of those bits. That means that we are kind of semi-bolting it back together. We are not using the new fresh gaskets unless it's parts where, for example, the plenum chambers, they're not going to come apart again. They're all clean. We don't need to get those stripped apart. So once everything is semi-assembled and I'm confident that we haven't lost any major components, then the entire engine is going to go down to Ricky, who will strip it all apart again. We're going to go through the internals, figure out what the initial problem is with this. I think it was just a head gasket, but only time will tell. We're going to be doing updating a load of stuff on there, making sure everything is working perfectly. It's all tip top on the inside and the outside, and then it's ready to go back in the car. Now I know in the previous video I wasn't very clear with that. There was a lot of people who commented as to why we're putting it back together at the moment, assembling it without going through and figuring out what the problem is. It is literally to make sure that we haven't lost anything major.
So let's crack on and get this engine assembled. We start off with some new bling on the block. New hardware was purchased and changed over. Then some shiny new dome nuts were added to various parts, including those beautiful cam covers. Now it's time to reassemble the engine's throttle control linkage. This part is used to balance the two halves of the BBI engine. The engine is essentially two 6-cylinder systems mated together, so many of the components are doubled up. If we open up my owner's manual for the BBI and reference this cutaway schematic of the engine, you can see a little bit more clearly the two separate systems. We've got two cam belts, two fuel systems, and even twin alternators. Both these twin systems have to then be tuned so they work perfectly in harmony together. I'm now finishing off the air plenum chambers as ran out of the correct type of bolts last week, and I really need everything on this to be absolutely perfect. Warm-up regulator and parts of the fuel system are ready and pre-assembled with all the right brackets. Now the keen-eyed among you might notice that this BBI engine has very similar sets of components to that found on my grey Ferrari 308 GTSI. It's essentially the same system except that everything is doubled up. Now we all know how tricky the 308 was and all the problems we had with it. So potentially we've got double the amount of issues here faced with the BBI, but I'm going to just shelve that thought and that worry for another day.
Now a little bit later on we're going to talk about the incredible costs associated with doing a nut and bolt restoration on a Ferrari, and believe me, it's pretty shocking. You've got to be quite insane to try and attempt to do what I'm doing on the BBI, but I'll let you know roughly what it has cost so far to get to this stage.
With the opposite set of components installed, we're now ready to figure out some pipework and other parts that sit on the engine block.
Now I'm just offering up all of this pipework here to try and figure out really where it all sits. It all intertwines with each other, make sure we've got everything, but there's something I want to point out just over here. So all of the rubber pipework around the engine really needs to be replaced. It's old, I don't want to risk it. We're using it obviously at the moment just to sit things in the right locations, but ideally it all needs refreshing. Now that's not that simple, unfortunately, because the majority of this and everything else around the car, this is just a fraction of it, is no longer available from Ferrari. Probably about 10 or 20% of it is, and that is extremely expensive. To give you an example, let's have a look at this, the air metering units. Now that bit of rubber there is about £100, another 100, loads more there. So in order just to fund all the replacement of all the rubber pipeworks on this car, I'm going to have to make a few more videos just to fund it.
Now before we move on with the engine, there's a really cool bit of kit that's just arrived that I want to test out for my new workshop. I've got the Grandfalls pressure washer from Giraffe Tools. It's a nifty compact all-in-one design which is perfect for a clutter-free environment. The stop lock control to customize hose lengths and the various handy attachments are brilliant features. Now as you can see, the Ferrari is pretty dirty with grime, cobwebs and dirt everywhere around the 456. This washer is great. It comes with a 180-degree rotary nozzle from Versatile Cleaning, and there's a super strong motor that removes the worst of the grime. I only want a quick wash today to remove the bulk of the mess, so I'm using this snow foam to give the 456 a long overdue bath. I switched the nozzles. The quick release function makes quick and easy work of that, and I love the solid metal construction which really gives it a well-made quality feel. Once all those soap suds are hosed off, it's back inside out of the sunshine to towel dry all the remaining water, and that's it. Job done, nice and simple.
Now not only is this an amazing pressure washer, it also comes with a massive 100-foot hose, which means I can stretch all the way from one unit to the other and clean all my cars. But my favourite bit by far is the clever chaps at Giraffe Tools have really thought this one through. It's nice and compact, it all stores. You can have it mobile if you want, you can take it off the wall. I like it like this, but this is an absolute genius idea. All the problems you normally have with a jet wash or a hose is winding it all back up after, but this one's got auto retract. Check that out, job done. Guys, if you want to get your hands on a cool bit of kit like this, then you're in luck because Giraffe Tools have kindly hooked up my viewers with a discount code. Just click on my link in the description below the video and add one of these awesome machines to your garage. At the end of the last video, while sat at my makeshift desk, I said that we needed to order up a few more nuts and bolts in order to progress the engine build. Well, over £300 later, and this is what it gets you. Basically, we have got a load of washers in there. We've got washers, we've got some nuts and bolts, we've got one, that's quite expensive, that was a sender unit for the radiator. We've got some studs in there. Now specifically, I've mentioned this before, in order to get the right ones, these yellow zinc nuts that are used all over the Ferrari, not just the BBI, they have a yellow plastic insert there, and I really can't find them from anywhere apart from Ferrari specialists. Typically, those are normally blue on the plastic insert. So you pay extra for all this. Again, we've got some pipe in there ready for the car. And then this bit here is a clutch alignment tool that we're going to need. We're going to have to replace the clutch on this BBI. But also, this works on the early Ratarossa. So that was about £80. That was a tool well needed, money well spent. But £300 odd later, and that's all that it buys you. Now, as I mentioned earlier, we're checking to see that we've got no missing parts. And when we were installing this air manifold against the tubes here, well, there's some spacers like this in between each of them, 24 in total, and I've had one missing. So we've got to take it all apart to install one of these, which is not difficult. It all just pops off the top here. And then, now I know exactly the one because I left the far end one here without the little spacer. So the spacer sits there between the little rubber grommet
and that keeps the distance perfect between the two parts. Now I'm also going to be installing these clips which hold the fuel lines or the spark plug leads and keep them neat around the engine. The only thing that we've got missing on these is little rubber bits here, but I'm going to put them in place to make sure that we know everything is there. Job done and all perfectly spaced. I am still scratching my head figuring out where these things go. We have got those, and then we've got a clip. I've got to find the right clamp. Clamp, who knows. That's going to go around there. I think that's too big. We've also got the rubber trims to go on these. And then I think that goes somewhere in there, underneath there somewhere. I don't know. Got to have a look at some old diagrams and try and figure that one out as well. One either side, obviously. Now, in the last video, I had to fork out for this, the complete engine gasket set for the BBI, and at almost £2,500. Well, it caused a little bit of uproar in the comments section. And to put that into perspective, my friend just bought this 3.2 litre Boxster S for £150 more than that measly little gasket set cost me. A whole Porsche for the gasket set. But it doesn't stop there. It gets worse. You see, this gasket set was the last one that they had in stock. So now, if you want one of these in the last week, this is the new price. Unfortunately, I desperately need this kit, otherwise I could make a nice tidy profit by just reselling it. And that, my friends, is how Ferrari pricing sometimes works. Go figure. Before we go any further with the engine, I'm after a little bit of help, guys. We've got a little bit of a problem back here in the engine bay. Let me explain. What I'm trying to do is forward plan for when the engine is ready to go back in the engine bay area here. I'm not going to have access to most of this, so it all has to be good to go. A couple of little things that are bugging me. Number one, you can see this long cable here. Now this looks to be like the one that runs to the starter motor, but you can see it's got this rubber sleeve, this sock, quite a long one. And well, if you look at it, it's just faded. It just looks like it's seen better days. It's actually, there's no damage to it. There's nothing wrong with it. It just doesn't look very pretty. So if anyone has got any links where I can get something like this, obviously it's quite a long length, please do drop them in the comments below. If you found a website that sells this kind of stuff, again, drop me a link. And the same kind of thing is over here as well with these cables, just a smaller profile. So that is one thing. Now the other thing I've got to do back here is run all of these new clutch lines here, all the brake lines, and I think that's it. Everything else back here is pretty cool. We've got some pipe work to replace, but that's okay. So anyone's got any help there, that would be most appreciated. Next, we're going to be offering up the starter motor, which is the final bit that needs to sit in this area here. Now, if you remember, our starter motor and our two alternators were all professionally rebuilt in a previous video, and they're all perfect on the inside and they look great on the outside. Next up, we're focused on this end of the engine, and I want to reinstall the gearbox transfer case right here. But before we can do that, all of these engine studs that I had re-zinc plated need to be put back correctly. Now, when I was doing all of this, I took it all apart, and the genius part of me, these are all different sizes, so we did take notes. So they're all placed back in the right order now. We've just got to double nut them and put them back in. Now, none of these should have to come back out again, so I'm going to use a little bit of thread lock on each. Then I'm going to just double nut them. Just screw that in gently. One down, 11 more to go, and then I've got 3 at the top over here that hold the starter motor in that don't get any thread lock.
With all our shiny studs back in place, we're almost ready to install that transfer case, but not quite. One more thing we need to do, and that is this. The tool I bought this week is our clutch alignment tool with these splines here. Now I'm going to explain how this works and why we need it. So this is our clutch on the BBI. At the back there we've got a flywheel. This is our pressure plate, and in the middle there we've got a clutch disc that's sandwiched in between. So what we need to do is we need to use our tool here with the splines. Now that slides in there, but the issue we've got at the moment is you can see the splines here, but in there's a second set of splines. Now that I'm moving around is our clutch disc. Now all of those need to fully align perfectly, and that is why it makes it a lot easier if you use a tool like this. So what we need to do is align it, and then the reason I can move that clutch disc around at the moment is because it's not sandwiched in. All of these bolts are loose here. So once we align it with our tool, we then bolt all this up, and then we can slide our transfer case on. So what I'm going to do is just remove both the pressure plate and the clutch disc. Now these don't actually look too bad, but I will be replacing them anyway, just because they've been sat on this car for so long. I don't want to risk everything. But for the time being, we're going to put it back on the car and just keep everything together. So our tool's going to go through the pressure plate, through the disc there, and then sit it right like that. Like that. Like that. And then we've got two little points here and here which line up with that one and that one. Lovely jubbly. And then put these in here, and then we're going to just bolt it up. On the inside of our transfer case is our clutch bell housing with this clutch release bearing here that slides in and out on the shaft. Now remember, the shaft is the one that goes through our pressure plate, through our clutch disc, and all sits in there nicely. Now the way this works is, remember, this baby is a manual with 3 pedals. So you got a clutch pedal there. Now when you put your foot on the clutch pedal, it sends fluid through this slave cylinder here all the way down, and it engages this here, right? Now this arm comes in and out, and as you can see, it sends this all the way through here and pushes our clutch release bearing in and out, pushing our plate in and out and engaging and disengaging our clutch system. Today's lesson over, it's time to install our transfer case. Now we're going to put that in there like that, and then very carefully try and align that. And there we go, guys, job done. Sometimes you have to give them a little tap to help them on their way. Almost done on the transfer case now. A couple more little bits. This pointer, which sits down in there. Those are so fiddly, I really don't want to drop them. Otherwise, we're going to have to take the transfer case off again. I should have put them on before. That's done. I've got a circlip that I'm putting there to remind me to put it on this one. I've got a split pin that needs to go in there. And I'm missing my breather tube here, which I'm working on in the background at the moment. And then that is pretty much the transfer case. And this end of the engine complete. Okay, guys, this is a vital Ratarossa tip. Never do what I did and put all of your plating in one hit. Just bag them up, put them separate for each individual component, because this is a nightmare trying to find everything, and the amount of time I've wasted, and if that time equates to money, then trust me, this cost me 10 times as much as it would have done if I'd have just done it the sensible way. You live and you learn. Now, we talked about all the rubber piping around the car earlier, but here's the next mission. All of this lovely stuff is the clips that hold those pipes in place, and well, that's all the original stuff. It looks amazing. It's all been replated, but here is the problem. All of the stuff has come apart like this. So you've got to marry up all of the clips with the brackets there to end up looking like this. But the problem is They're all different shapes and sizes, so we got to go through all of that, put them together, and that's going to take some time. I've got a feeling this could be a job for my 2 daughters. Bit of pocket money. Oh, it's heavy now. All we need now is this to fall over. That would be a big disaster. There we go. Now in this box here, we've got all of our new service items, plus a whole host of other things ready to go on the car. We've got 12 brand new fuel injectors, 12 spark plugs, we've got oil filters, we've got cam belts, tensioners, we've got rubber bits there for the air system. We've even got ourselves a brand new paint sticker. That is our fuel cap. How cool is that? They don't make them like this anymore. Everything all ready to go on the car to refresh it and have it absolutely perfect once again. All right, let's start off with some easy bits. We've got a water pump there. Now I have got a rebuild kit for this, and I will be doing that. And we're not using any of the new gaskets, as I said. We're just putting everything in place for now. Now this is the bracket for our timing belt bearing that sits on there, and all the tensioner, spring, everything sits in that part. And I believe that goes that way on that side, like that. Okay. Does that sit like that? And that one's over there somewhere. I'm gonna have to refer to some old pictures and figure this one out. And then we've got our AC compressor here, which sits up there, like so. But we've got a slight problem with this because I haven't finished putting it back together. So we've got all these bits here that need to go on the compressor, and well, I've looked back through my pictures and I can't quite figure it out exactly the order. So I've got a plan. That is the compressor off of my 308, and it's the same thing. So we're going to strip this off, check it out very carefully, make a note of how it comes apart, which bits go where, and then we're going to use that as a reference to put that one back together. Genius. I'm now on a mission. I want to see what it looks like over here when it's all complete. I've just put this loosely together, none of the clips on the bearings, but I've got to see what it looks like on the engine. Guys, when I started off on my journey to restore this BBI engine, I had a dream, I had a vision. I stumbled upon Ferrari's press pictures for the BBI engine, and it looked so immaculate, so pristine. That was the goal for this one. But it was a tall order because this thing was so badly neglected. Hopefully though, you've enjoyed the transformation on this. We are nearly there. A couple more bits to do, a couple of bits to figure out and bolt back on it. Then it's going down to Ricky, and hopefully he can transform the internals so it looks like this. Then it's ready to go back in the BBI and once again roar. I can't wait for that moment where we turn the key and this thing fires into life. Now earlier on I promised you an update on the build cost so far for the BBI to take it from how we discovered it to its current state. Well, let's run through them quickly. Here they are. So sundries such as nuts, bolts, all of that kind of thing. There's a few little bits that we've lost. We're in at about £2,000 already for that stuff. Gaskets, 2,500. Paint, now a good paint job typically nowadays anywhere from 10,000 to 30,000 pounds plus. I've got a deal on that one with my guys, but yeah, it's still expensive. Plating and powder coating about 4,000 so far. Then we had our original radiator and AC condenser. They were all rebuilt at £1,000. Brake system, I'm in at about £800 so far, and we still haven't finished on that one. There's still more to spend. Now, the specialist bodywork repair that we had, so all the little tiny rust spots on it, any kind of dents, but mainly the roof section. If you remember, Ferrari, when it came to the UK, it was built and then they added in a stupid roof aerial I thought looked ghastly. Anyway, we spent a lot of money, £5,000, having all of that rectified with the old school methods. Then we've had some new lights, £1,000 there. Keys, we remember we had the keys were lost on this one, so we're in about 400 so far, and I still got one more key. Now it's all about originality and the brand that Ferrari used. I think it was Nyman. We've got to get one more of those. Fuel pumps, accumulators, all the little bits there. £800. Custom made engine panels, which we'll see in a future video. We spent £2,000 having those done. Then we've had tyres, wheel refurbish, the chrome centre caps, all of that, about £3,500. Rebuilt alternators, starter motor, steering racks, all the little kits we've had to do, everything that was outsourced, we're in for about 2,000 on all that lot. Suspension, well, Coney kindly got involved on that one. They refurbished all of my original 6 shock absorbers, made them like new, better than new, and they didn't even charge me. So thank you so much, Coney. Amazing job. Can't recommend them enough for doing that one. And well, like I say, I have no idea what that would have cost to do that normally, but thank you, Coney. Then we've had things like service kits, about £1,000 for that. Missing parts, the stolen parts when I bought the car. Remember, someone had been in there and very nastily took some of the expensive items. Well, I've spent about 4,000 replacing bits so far, and I still haven't tracked down a toolkit. Now, to get a very nice version of the toolkit, you're talking at least £3,000 nowadays. So, grand total so far is I'm in for about 40,000, and I'm sure there's bits I've missed off this completely. Like I haven't tracked every single little item on it, but 40,000, guys. What do you think? Have I done the right thing? Should I have just saved my money and bought a pristine example of the BBI? Where would the fun be in that one? Anyway, let me know in the comments below what you think. Did I do the right thing here, or am I completely bonkers? Well, guys, that's it for today's video. Thank you all very much for watching. Don't forget, you can check out what I get to on a daily basis over on my socials. In the meantime, if you did enjoy it, please do give it a like, share, subscribe to the channel if you're not already. Drop a comment below because it all helps with the algorithm to push the videos. Anyway, I will see you all in the next one. Stay safe and ciao for now.